Hey, DeRacers, and especially Dirk Army teams, this video is for you. Recently, we were just testing out the sprints concept. We had 6 different teams compete in head-to-head battles. Thank you very much for your participation in that. In those events, we saw 2 really exciting upsets, and we got a lot of good feedback. The main thing that we were hoping for and that we feel like was accomplished was smaller teams having the opportunity to compete with larger teams. So rather than having a horse or a team with 100 horses going up against a team with 10, it could seem unfair in some things. We wanted to make sure that it was a more level playing field. And that seemed to come true in that little trial that we did.
Yeah,
Now,
when we had the scoreboards on the DeRacers.world website, if you didn't get a chance to see that, as the week progressed, we saw race after race. Each team had to do 10 races per horse, and it got really fun as the week went on to be able to see a team look like they might be able to pull off an upset. A lot of times it came down to the final 2 to 3 races of those 10 where we were really monitoring to see which horse was going to be able to pull it off.
Yep. And just a quick recap on that. So each team had 3 random tracks selected, 1 on dirt, 1 on synth, and 1 on turf. Both teams had to run a horse 10 times on those tracks. And then what we did is we took the average pace of each of those horses, and the horse that had the faster pace, the team got a point. Mm-hmm. So in the sprints concept, the goal is to randomize these events and then force 2 teams to be able to be clever enough to figure out what was the best horse to compete there. And now, one of the things that we wanted to change moving forward was how do we inject more strategy into this competition? And that is what we came up with, our power plays. So inside the sprints, or the Sprints Cup, is going to be a 7-week season where 8 teams are going to compete against each other. And in those, each team is going to get 1 furlong reroll. So if you're going up against a competitor and none of the tracks are favorable to what your horse's stables are good at, or if it's maybe heavily weighted to your opponent, you could throw down this card and you could get a reroll. And both teams are going to have to go into whatever version that it's been rerolled for.
Now, one thing that I really like about that particular power play is that you have to choose this within 24 hours of us selecting the tracks for your matchup. So when you're going up against another team, if you're like, hey, you know what, we can't compete against them on this particular track, we need to throw this down, you've got 24 hours to make that decision, and we will re-roll for that particular matchup.
Perfect. And then the other one is in the season, which again is 7 weeks long, each team is going to get 3 horse blocks. So if you are pinned up against a team and you desperately need to win that track and you see that their horse is just so much stronger than yours, you can play one of these per week and block a horse from racing on a specific track. So if a horse is going to be competing on both dirt and synth, you can't block it on both, but you can block it on one of those.
Yeah, and there is a restriction on that one as well. You will have 24 hours from the moment that the other team has set their roster to play your horse block card. Basically, we don't want teams to have to wait until right before the event to find out what horse they're going to have to put in now instead. So we do lock it and say that you have 24 hours to say, we're blocking this one, and they have to make another selection.
Exactly. Now, to make this seem to make more sense, here are the teams that participated in the sprints. This is not yet the finalized roster, though we'd love for these teams to come back. But we wanted to create this so you could get a sense of what this event's going to look like. So you'll notice that we have 8 or 7 weeks where each team is going to compete with another team in this. So everybody's going to go against each other once. Now, in this, you're going to see that each team has, you can see where they've used, whether or not they've used their furlong reroll, if they've used any of their blocks. And then the scoring is going to function the same way as it did in the sprints. You get 1 point for every furlong distance your team wins against the other. If you fail to get your 10 races in, you will get a negative point applied to your week. So as teams go through this, all the scores are going to get tallied up. And on the far right-hand side, you're going to see the total scores. The top 4 teams are going to move forward into a playoff where the number 1 seed is going to go against number 4, number 2 and 3. In 2 rounds, they're going to get knocked out, and then the finals between the top 2 teams. So there's going to be the 7-week season followed by a 2-week playoff.
I also like that we are bringing back the power plays or at least one of the power plays for the playoff format, you will get one additional horse block to be used in the playoffs. So you have to decide, are you going to use it in that semifinal, or are you going to use it in that playoff final matchup? But you will get one more if you make it into the playoffs.
Perfect. And now what we're trying to do too is to generate a lot of interest here. There's going to be a lot of opportunities we have for giving out prizes, but initially we're asking for teams to pony up a 500 Dirk entry to go into the season. Our plan is each week, any team that wins, you're going to get paid back 150 Dirk to the winning team. So there's going to be a 4,000 Dirk collected, and 4,200 Dirk is going to get paid out for the season. We're going to most likely be opening up raffles for outsiders to be able to bet on favorite teams. And those raffles are going to be passed out with NFTs, and some of the proceeds are going to be used to pay the teams for competing. Then once we get to the playoff stage, there's going to be a secondary higher level raffle, same kind of structure, where people that are spectating will be able to bet on their teams, and the prizes are going to get paid out to the teams that are competing. So we're hoping that the money going into this thing is going to get magnified for the teams that are going to be participating.
Yeah, the raffles is something I'm really excited about because there will be good prizes for that, but it also allows for prize money to be available for the teams. And we like the idea of being able to pay out every week. You know, it's incentivizing you to race your horses, get those points, win that week, so that you can get your original entry fee back, and then compete toward the end of the season and get into those playoffs. One other thing that I wanted to point out, because some people are probably going to be wondering, based on a 7-week structure, there will be ties. We know that's going to happen at the end. Each week only allows 3 maximum points per team, but you could end up 2-1 or 3-0 in a particular week. But at the end of the season, if there are any tiebreakers, the head-to-head matchup that occurred between those two teams will determine who goes on.
Perfect. Then the last thing I wanted to share with you is 7 weeks, even though it might feel like it's a little bit of a long period of time, only 3 horses, or honestly, it could be one single horse that runs all 3 tracks, need to run. So you have 30 races per week that's expected out of you. So some of your players are probably going to have weeks off where if they weren't selected for the tracks, they will have a bye week for them. The other thing is as soon as the first week starts, we will be working out all of the randomization for the second week. So we'll be communicating with the managers to give you that notice. So your racers, they will just need to focus on knocking out their numbers. And then we're going to be able to do all of the details with the re-rolls, the blocks if they happen. So during that week, while the racers are racing, the managers are going to be able to lay down some strategy, preparing for the following week. So we're going to be able to stagger this. Hopefully it won't be a big time commitment. And I think this is going to be a lot of fun and hopefully with a lot of strategy mixed in.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to this. So teams, seriously, get in touch with us, lock down your spot. There's only going to be those 8 spots. We already have 2 filled.
Yep.
We've talked to a lot of you, so just make sure you confirm. And then I'm looking forward to getting out there on the Sprints Cup.
Yep. First come, first serves. DeRacers Elite are already in. Prospects are in. So you have 6 available. Hit us up, 500 Dirk entry, and we'll get you locked in.